Hello, Mark.
Hey there. How's it
Hey,
going?
pretty good. Welcome to a new episode of your podcast, Reactor.
Yes, and now it actually exists on Pinecast, and
Oh, it
the
does.
first episode is edited, although anyone listening will already know how to find it.
It's edited and it's out.
It's not published. I've just put it
Ah,
in Dropbox, but
got it.
I've got the show created on
Oh,
Pinecast.
cool.
So
So
progress.
in Dropbox, you put it in. Just looking for
In
it here.
episodes one assets. Oh,
Oh, I
it's
got it.
uploading still. React. I called
Oh,
it
okay.
Reactor dash
Nice.
pod dash one.
Okay, cool.
And you already edited the sound. So basically this is just clipping out some minor things where
Okay.
I was slow to get the our backup sound set up, and you had to
hmm
look for some stuff, just that kind of dead time. So
Nice. Well, so how you been getting on? How's your running going?
I knew you were going to ask that. So I went out and exercised today. Made it 3 times this week.
Okay.
So it's not quite what I intended, but better than 2 times last week.
Okay.
So another strange discovery I've made is I've I had messed up wrists for a long time. They've gotten better, so I've been using the computer more, and I've been getting
Yeah.
this like tennis elbow like pain, and the inner tendon along the inner side of my elbow, and I've been doing these body weight exercises in the park, just like dips and pull ups. Although I can't do many pull ups, so I'm doing like basically like almost vertical or almost horizontal, hanging
Mm.
on to the bars of the dip station, and then
Mm.
just doing like pseudo pull ups. They're like modified pull ups, and the elbow hasn't been bugging me this week.
Huh.
It's like doing something radically different than sitting at the same desk in the same posture, typing the same way, has been a plus.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, b- I've told you I'm tracking my blood sugar and
Yeah.
yeah, but so I'll show you the what it sort of looks like here. Did I show you this last time? But yeah,
No, you
so
mentioned it.
you just get to see this chart, and I've not been doing well. I'm supposed to be at 150 or lower, generally speaking, and I've been
Hmm.
between 250 and 300. So it's been quite difficult. So I'm just experimenting with different things and different different food types just to see what kicks it off. But it's even got to the point where it's just randomly going up on its own. So I think
Ugh.
I think the big difference is when I first put it on, I was doing better, but I think the big difference is I'm just doing no exercise whatsoever now.
Yeah.
Because I've got a big push for the 20th, which is tomorrow, and yeah, I've just been working so hard. There's just been no time for self care.
You reminded me of one other thing I did this week. So
Oh,
I
okay.
did a 24-hour fast.
Yes,
And that is
I want to
supposed to
try
be
that.
like the big guns when dealing with blood sugar issues.
Okay, I'll try that.
At least from what I read, it's um, I don't know. It's kind of hard, but I don't know if it's any harder than just being super on top of everything all the time.
All right, I'll commit to doing one 24-hour fast before the next show.
Nice.
Okay, deal.
Look forward to hearing about it. All right.
Yeah, so well, we've got a little bit of a show structure here. Yeah. So basically, greeting, quick progress update, discuss a mental model, which you are always going to be bringing to the table. I should mention
It's
that.
always me. Okay. Okay. Can I steal
Uh,
yours this time?
yeah, go for it.
All right. I'm going to do that.
So discuss a mental model, which is Mark to bring. Discuss some interesting blog posts that we've read because I enjoyed talking about that fame one last time. I thought that was cool, and maybe a deep dive or a brainstorm into what we're working on. And I do have some stuff to brainstorm with you today, so that would be cool.
Excellent. And yeah, so side projects. Do you
Yeah,
want to
this
go
is
first?
like just a quick yeah. So basically, I'm right now I'm really interested in the process of developing Taskflow, getting it in front of some eyes, pushing it to beta list, and seeing what kind of sign up I can create. But before I do that, I need to fully think through what it is myself, and that's what I want to brainstorm with you today. some of the features that I think will be kind of good and interesting, to then put together a landing page and test those with the community. So even though it sort of feels like I'll be brainstorming and creating the real product, that's actually not what's happening. I'll just be brainstorming and creating the best product that I can think of, brainstorming with you and talking to a few other people, potential customers and friends. And then I'll be making a landing page and putting it on beta list. And then I'll be getting signups, and then I'll be bringing those people into Slack, and then I'll be talking to those people. And then I might be completely deleting half of the stuff that I thought was good. But still, you got to start somewhere.
Fun process to see. Yeah, because
you got to start somewhere, right?
You've done this kind of process a lot of times, and gotten people. So I want to see that, because for me, getting the first 100 or 200 followers was really hard, like way harder than the later ones.
Yeah. So well, I'll show you. So we'll go through it and we'll see. Just sort of So that's sort of where I'm at with that. With my day jobs, this crunch time ends tomorrow. I hope. Well, except for the fact that they're doing a big launch, and I suppose more people will be using the product. So maybe something will go wrong.
Are they launching on Friday night?
No, they're launching tomorrow.
Okay, nice.
But it wouldn't matter if Friday night. I mean, what does a weekend mean when you remote work at home anyway? It's like,
all right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I think I had 4 goals, or at least a list of 4 priorities last time. The first one was helping out on that other project that I mentioned briefly, where my friend was working on it before. I got a fair amount done on that. Then my second goal was working on the site for this podcast, and I'm also turning the process of making that site into screencasts for Alchemist Camp. Mm-hmm. I got just about everything needed for an MVP done. Like the code is basically there. I've made 2 screencasts out of that so far. There's enough material for at least 2 more. So that was a pretty good week for me. Got 2 new screencasts published, and I have like a backlog of material to create into screencasts.
Do you have any product to show us, to screen share, or is it not ready yet?
I could. It's not. Sure. Yeah. What the heck? I already did a brief demo of it on Alchemist Camp, but there are probably different people watching. Are you?
You need to take over the screen share.
Yeah. Or a little bit of lag. This is going to be a pain. I'm not gonna show it right now.
Okay, no worries.
I think I added something to my master branch, but I've already put up a video on Alchemist Camp. It was like a Phoenix Live View preview, and basically it's just got the user part minus the auth set up, and you can see you can like open up 2 browser tabs and edit a user and see it like update in real time on the other, or delete it and it'll disappear from the index.
Nice.
If you're doing a form with validations, you'll get feedback right away without having to submit anything. And if it's something where you do have to submit because it has to at least try to put it in the database, then it won't be a full page load. It'll just do it over WebSockets. So
I've realized we should probably write down the goals that we set for the next week in that text doc, because I've actually forgotten what the goals were that I set last week.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 more.
Yeah.
So let me just go through really quickly. Mosquito. So goal number 3, or priority number 3, was because Jeffrey Way's VI or Vim series was so good on Laracast. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go through his Git series, and that was not as amazing for me. Like, it was pretty much all stuff I already knew. I think it was just aimed more at beginners, whereas the Vim one is sort of aimed at beginners, but he went faster, and it was like, a lot of interesting stuff, even though I've been using VI for a decade. So, finished that series, and then the 4th thing was to look at the analytics project I'm working on, and I didn't do that at all.
Oh.
But it's got to be a big priority this coming week because my bigger goal was to get that first version of it launched by March 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So
the epic.
That's I guess it's epic. That was the year goal. One of the year goals was launch that project number 2 by March 1st.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically where I am.
Cool.
I'm gonna grab my notebook. I've got a few things in it, including your mental model I want to steal. So
okay, go on then.
All right, you ready?
I am ready to hear my mental model.
Not yet. Before that,
okay.
I misremembered priority number 4. Priority number 4 was write my welcome email course. Like finish writing those, and that I actually made good progress on because
good.
I've been manually mailing out people that request an intro course, and about 1 in 4 replies. They'll like take the challenge I give them and send me back some code, and then I send them another one. So I've gotten through basically all the emails that I need for the whole course, except for the beginner email for people who don't know any other programming language. Because those are really, really rare. I've only had one person like that come in that's completed a challenge, and they've only done one.
I see. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put those into ConvertKit and fully automate it, so I don't have to manually copy paste them and send them out to people. All right, your mental model. Your mental model was small bricks, and I called this bricks versus giant slabs. So if you're building, say you're building a cathedral, or you're building Stonehenge or something, you can use giant, maybe not a cathedral, but you're building Stonehenge, you can use giant slabs of material. That's kind of what working with WordPress is like. That's what working with somebody else's library that wasn't built for what you're doing is like.
I like it.
Small bricks can be used to build a giant castle or a cathedral or, ornate house. But because they're smaller bricks, you have a lot more flexibility. And it is more work to come up with how to use them initially. But once you have certain patterns, you can just say, well, we want this entire gigantic wall to be made of these small bricks in this pattern. And it's not that much more work than having a giant slab.
I like this. I like the way that you've used Stonehenge for the giant slab, because Stonehenge itself is complete. It's a complete product with giant slabs.
Yeah.
So it's a super simple product. It's complete and it's made of giant slabs. And a castle is a very complicated product that's complete and it's made of smaller bricks or stones. I like it.
Yeah. So that's
but it would be a lot harder to build, and this is kind of a good thing. It would be a lot harder to build a giant castle. Sorry, a castle with those giant slabs. I mean, it would be super difficult.
Oh yeah. Well, it'd feel like you were going really fast, and then eventually be like, oh wait, no, we need a different one that's a little bit different shape, and then we've got to go to the plugin store and see if they have a slab that's like this, and then.
But that's a kind of great analogy. It's something that like all developers ultimately face. It's like, okay, am I going to build this from scratch so that I can get exactly what I want, or am I going to build it based on libraries? And then it's really easy to get 80%, but the last 20% takes so long.
Yeah, I really feel for my buddy Liam of the Create Your World podcast. He's like really bright guy, like good at language learning, but mostly non-technical. And he's building a new project, and he's basically just been churning over like which WordPress plugin do I need, which theme do I need, which things will support all the features I need for my site. What if later I want to add like some social features to it? Like, how do I avoid backing myself into a corner?
I've seen a few people start out that way, and then they just end up programming WordPress. You know how you program WordPress through arrays? I don't know if you've ever done.
Vaguely.
But they just end up customizing WordPress. Yeah, and it's difficult.
Post-programmer, I haven't done much with WordPress. I have a feeling like he's just going to end up learning how to program over time, whether if he wants to or not, because he's just going to get so sick of being dependent on
Oh,
various plugins, and a lot of them are expensive. Like he's spending way more getting his site set up than I have on anything in a long time.
Because he's buying the plugins. Yeah.
Because in premium themes and plugins, services to connect them. So
I mean, there's no doubt about it that learning to code is like a step function for what you can do. Online.
I think it's also just not. I mean, it seems like this gigantic undertaking, because people are seeing it in like an all or nothing, just going from like non-technical to technical, whereas you can actually learn a little bit and then get a lot out of it, then learn a bit more, and then a bit more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Smaller bricks.
Did I tell you that maybe you heard it on the other podcast, but I had written the abstraction layer for WordPress, the database abstraction layer.
I vaguely remember something about that.
Yeah, so it's like it's the way that you communicate with the database. But they sort of replaced it. I mean, a long time ago, but left all of the, I suppose, the structure.
You published it.
No. WordPress itself is run on a database abstraction library called EasySQL.
And you wrote that.
Yeah.
I thought you were just using it yourself. I didn't realize that you'd
every WordPress installation, every WordPress installation on the planet is using that library.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but except that at some point they changed the guts of the library to their own version, but they left all of the interfaces. So if you go to the WordPress page about database, it says this is based on EasySQL, basically. Yeah.
So it's all your fault.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's quite interesting to think. We talk about surface area. It's interesting to have some facet of some work that you've done on all the web, essentially. Well, not all the web, but a huge percentage, like 25% of sites are WordPress or something like that.
That is a crazy amount. The closest I had to that was I contributed a test to _JS.
That's awesome.
The test for reduce was broken initially. It would basically it only checked to make sure it worked with addition, but you could have like any other kind of function be broken and it would be fine. Yeah,
well, I mean, my WordPress claim to fame isn't that great because there is no. It's only just a sort of notional concept, because they're just using the same interface calls that I designed. There's none of the actual code, but still, it's kind of interesting. But yeah. So, what you doing?
Oh, I was just looking for the plan.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's at the top level of that Reactor Code Castle directory. You got it right there.
Top level, all right.
Yeah.
Ah, good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in here we should probably just record, when we get to the goals section, just jot them down in here. At least for me, I should do mine anyway. You've got yours in your notebook.
Yeah, but I forgot one of them, so.
All right. So, did you have any interesting blog posts to discuss? Wow, we're super prepared.
I'm not sure I'm not sure that I did see anything that would really piqued my curiosity. There was kind of an interesting podcast though. You interviewed Jason Calcanis before. So he's got that This Week in Startups podcast. And DHH went on it and he was talking about a lot of stuff, a lot of political things, like failings with the US systems in general, but one part that was particularly interesting to me was he was talking about Lambda School, which is like an online code camp. And I previously went to a coding boot camp called Hack Reactor.
Yeah.
I had a fantastic experience. I knew literally like all the first 100 students who went through it. I knew like everyone in the first, I think 8 classes at least. And overwhelmingly, they had great experiences. There were a couple students who decided fairly quickly to drop out.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, the school could have kept their money, but as far as I know, they gave it back every single time.
Uh-huh.
And
And so what were they saying about the Lambda stuff?
So DHH was basically, he was saying it was very parasitical, and like you could not find some, because he's Dutch, I believe, and he I think he went to college for free, and not only that, but got a stipend on top of it, because he was talking about the stipend system. In any case, Dutch students now can, and he was saying you could not find someone in Europe who's willing to pay $30,000 for a 9-month online, like remote boot camp.
That makes sense,
especially if they don't have the $30,000, and like that seems really compelling to me. And I understand like the promise.
What, it seems
of
compelling
it is
to you to get by that course?
Hack Reactor was an amazing deal for me. So that was $18,000 for 3 months
online,
but
or
no, it was in person, and it was very intense. It was in person, like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I was there more than 12 hours a day because they didn't really kick us out until midnight. So it was, it was a great learning experience for me. The school had no reputation at all when I went through it, but just the change in hard skills was enough that, like when I first went in, I was struggling to even get interviews. And then by the time I got out, I had 3 offers and a whole bunch of others in the pike, including Google. They were really slow though, and I ended up going to Groupon. And, I think it was easily worth it. And even given the choice of staying for, like, if I could have stayed for 4 years and paid the same amount, I still prefer having done it in 3 months. Because, I mean, worst case scenario, actually, it's just better. You learn a lot in a small amount of time. And even if it's not as much as you would learn in 4 years, which it's not really, but it's still more intense than you would think for 3 months. I would love a model where you go for like 3 months, you work for a year and a half, then you maybe do one on machine learning or one on some other thing you're into.
Was your main takeaway that this was kind of ridiculous that it was 9 months, 30,000 online? Well,
my takeaway was this is a different perspective. It's really interesting seeing how bad he thought it was, but he was also saying like their course completion rate wasn't as good, and also that I guess the income sharing agreements that they make with the students, they turn around and sell to banks or to some other financial organizations. So the students, like if their students aren't happy, they can't actually go to the school and say, hey, this didn't do what you promised, I want a refund. They have to go to like the new owners of their future earnings. So it did seem kind of bad, but I think, maybe it just like costs more, and it's also remote, so it feels like it should have been cheaper. But it was an interesting perspective, and Jason was very much on the side of if people want to do this, why shouldn't they? Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't know. I'm generally pretty much against the idea that everyone should get a 4-year degree, that you have to have a certain kind of credential. I don't think it's the fastest way to learn. I think just economically, it's pretty stupid to have everyone go to like these industrial scale collegiate programs where every year you have millions of people emerging with basically the same skill set. I mean, just by supply and demand, if there's that big of a supply, the prices will go down. So like you're hurting people's earnings by having too much of a cookie cutter, everyone has the same skills approach. So yes. I'd like to see like more diversity of lots of things, but if it's something where there's like a really hard sell and you're saying, hey, we're going to like, triple your earnings, and then you're stuck, you're on the line for like $30,000 and you can't get a job. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with that. Education is a very interesting thing, and the whole bubble, like having to spend so much money. I mean, for me personally, I didn't do that. Like, I was out of school by 16, and
and you have a Silicon Valley
coding.
career?
Coding. Well, I wouldn't say Silicon Valley, but it's
Well,
sort of it's
California.
Sort of California.
It's a whole state now.
But I think that's what I love about coding is it really can be an apprenticeship path. You know, it's just sort of do it, and you can just get straight in there and do it and start building stuff, and it's so easy. It's way easier now than when I started. You know.
Do you think it's easier to get in now?
I think it's easier to, so when I started and built the very first thing I ever built, which was the Virtual Irish Pub, and learnt C on the fly to build a CGI, you know, and there was pretty much no resources to teach you how to do that other than books that you had to go to the library, and they didn't say anything about, you know, building a chat room. That was tough. Right. But now I think you can just, everything's a Google away, so you can just really, it's much easier to start. You know, which obviously commoditizes it and means that it's harder to build the true value. So I think that's where the time comes in. So the code camps are interesting because, you know, like you describe, you're there for 3 months and then you can sort of get the 80%. Well, I wouldn't say the 80%. Get the 20%. You can get the 20%, but then, you know, the other 80% does kind of take, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Like once you've been coding for 20 years, you have a very different concept on coding and building stuff than you did when you were 5 years into it.
Well, I think that's true, but I think in order to get what a typical CS student gets, it's a really different comparison. Because I would say in general, people coming out of code camps they've done more pair programming. They've had more time where an actual professional has
super
been
successful
looking at their code and giving them help while they're working on stuff. They have a lot less math. They have a lot less. They do a fair amount of algorithm related work, but they have, you know, they don't have like a compiler class. They don't do OS. They don't do Autonoma. But you can do all that stuff on Coursera, right? Like after I got a job at Groupon, the first thing I did was started checking out Coursera courses.
I think the places where someone who comes out of a course like that, the places where they're just going to need time. I mean, they're just going to need years, in my opinion, like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, is just understanding the big picture architecture, you know, services, like the full stack, like just basically. You got to go through that a few times before you kind of get it or make good decisions. And even frameworks, like if you never write a framework, that's a problem in my opinion. You know, like it's not until you write a framework that you I feel like that is a rite of passage. You kind of need to write some kind of framework or other to understand frameworks. Otherwise you're just kind of using stuff. But by the same token, when I think about it in terms of games development, it would be kind of impossible to build, because there's so many lower levels that are built, like the engines, the 3D engines. Like to go back and build a 3D engine and know how to build everything from the ground up would be super difficult in that environment.
A corollary, though, is at least in my experience, the game developers I've worked with have just been better than everyone else. Like,
interesting.
Like they were working harder and making less money because they loved it and they were super into it. And they like every single game dev I worked with, who had like later been like, oh, like screw this really abusive industry. I'm going to go to one where they actually like let me have vacations and don't fire us between projects and rehire us and that kind of thing. Like, yeah, they all had crazy coding chops and solved like a wide variety of problems too, compared to like most web developers.
So here's a few things that I'm just looking at my upvoted on Hacker News. So here's a few things we can just quickly talk about, and then let's do some brainstorming. But I don't know if any of these appeal to you, but I'll just quickly tell you a couple. So the brown color is weird. I thought this was really cool. That basically, I don't know if we can have a discussion about this, but I'm just going to tell you why I thought it was cool. Brown doesn't exist. Like as an actual color, it doesn't exist. So the way that brown exists is it's orange that's dark, and then in the context of having light things around it, and our brains convert that into a different concept called brown, but
I think,
there's
yeah,
no
it's
real
just,
thing.
just because our cone cells in our eyes only respond to 3 different frequencies
Okay,
instead
now
of the whole spectrum.
that's above my pay grade. I don't know about
Okay.
that. All I'm
I
saying,
because I think like the whole idea of like mixing red, green, blue in a
yeah,
monitor,
yeah,
like that's a hack that works with humans because of how we perceive color.
okay,
But if you show that to like a parrot who can also perceive ultraviolet, like it's going to look wrong. And
interesting.
if you show the same kind of image to like a, a mantis, which has like 16 different wavelengths that they can perceive, then it's just a ridiculous imitation. So I think, I mean, I could be wrong because I haven't even watched this thing, but I think this brown thing, it's stemming from us only being able to take like 3 data points, be like how much intensity or how much light is at this wavelength, how much at this one, and then our brain just kind of
It's cool, but
makes
and
color
we
out
even
of
do
that.
that in the real world, right? Like, so it's
Yeah.
not just on the monitors. I mean, we make up brown, like it's orange. It's not,
Yeah.
which is crazy because like I don't know, my house is like filled with brown right now, and it's like a huge part of my life, and it's not really real.
I think it's like if you close your eye, so you have no like depth perception,
Yeah.
and you just see a photograph that looks like the real world, but it's not. It's just a
Oh,
photograph.
interesting. I haven't tried that test. So, and the way to prove the brown point is to get a black piece of paper with a small hole, and then put something in front of it, on something brown, and then it will look orange in the context of black. It will look like dark orange.
Quick side tangent on this. You remember that dress?
No, what dress?
That dress. It's just like quote that dress.
Nope.
There was this huge thing that broke Reddit for a few days or weeks in 2015, I think.
Yeah.
It was like, what color is this dress? Is this dress blue and black, or is it white and gold? And people are pretty much evenly split on which one they think it is. I saw it and I was like, this is obviously white and gold.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few weeks later, like even my perception had flipped and I couldn't see it white and gold again.
Yeah, I've seen things like that. Like do you see the picture A or picture B kind of thing?
Yeah. And it was, yeah, definitely. I should put that in the links.
So what do you think? Mind if we have a brainstorm with
let's go for
Taskflow?
it.
So so with Taskflow, I want to deal with the issue of I'm just sort of thinking like the issues that I have are the big ass text file. It's difficult to track what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to sort of choose, and so it sort of uses these different it lists. So strategies to help pick the best thing. Where was that mock-up that I had? It's weird how Zoom does it. Puts the pictures of you and me there, so I have to move around them. Okay.
You can drag those around.
Yeah, but then it doesn't look like I'm looking at you.
Oh, okay.
Wait, is this the right one? Yeah. So I was just thinking about, I'm only just this is not even remotely what the design is going to be, but I just wanted something to sort of begin to think about it. So I wanted like this idea of so it's bringing everything down to just one place. So this is what I'm working on right now, and this is essentially like a big ass text file here. So you've got a text file to work with, because I find that really useful to be able to just have like a text editor open. And then this is sort of in my sights. It's the next sort of to do. It's like I guess it's sort of like your to do on a Kanban kind of thing. And then bringing the things into that. So obviously you'd click that and you'd have a list of 3 or 4 the things that you were just about to do. And then this by strategy is basically the way that it would rank the tasks, because I want to be able to throw hundreds, if not well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of tasks in here. Because at any one time in life, I have a crap load of stuff to do, like take the trash out, do the laundry, build a life-changing product, all those different things. So I want to be able to like flip through different strategies about how to pick those things, as we discussed last time. So structured procrastination, for example, would bring your two most painful things into the list. And the idea is that you would, because the top one is so painful, you would do the second one because it's slightly less painful.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. But so then another thing I was thinking about was, okay, so that's the generally tasks.
Well, before we go on too far from that, would you be sorting different tasks by strategy? So you assign one strategy to each task, basically.
Well, no. What I would be doing is, and I don't have this mocked up, but basically there would be a quick way when you submitted a task, you could basically very quickly say, this is painful, this has a big life impact, this has, so you could give it these different vectors. So then the strategies would just look at the different vectors and rank things based on the vectors. So, for example...
Oh, okay.
So, for example, if stuff was, if you click structured procrastination, it would select stuff that you haven't done that is due pretty quickly, that is painful.
Gotcha.
Make sense? Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's always like a smorgasbord of stuff in there, and every task has different attributes associated with it. How painful is it? How quickly does it need to be done? How much can it impact your life? How much do you not want to do it? All those things. And then these different strategies make a difference. Like, so for example, if it's a coding task, the system would kind of know that. And, in frame of mind, maybe you're in the right mind to do coding. Because you'd be able to configure this system the way that you want. So let's say you were a writer. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was just thinking it would be super customized, super personalized.
Yeah, completely personalized. Exactly, completely personalized. So, for example, something small. You click on that. It's going to bring up the things that are sort of timely, but also super small. You know how it's nice to check off a couple of really small things and then get onto a big thing so that you at least feel like you've done something?
Yeah. And actually, for me, the biggest thing I get out of any kind of task management system at all isn't getting the big stuff done. For me, the biggest benefit I get is that when I do have, say, like 20 minutes, I can see like, okay, what's a little thing I can do right now, instead of spending the 20 minutes thinking like, what should I do next?
Right. Okay. So then you'd click on something small and it's going to pick it, but it'll sort of rank it by smallness, but also, how fast you need to get it done, and then time bomb would just be like, okay, this really has to get done. This is super important. But you would be able to customize this any way you want. So I'm hinting at that with relationship building here, so what tasks are going to help your friendships, and then maybe you could have like stuff related to the environment, like what is, so just depending on who you are and what your life goals are. So that's the sort of task management. So to basically help yourself always pick really good things for you, stuff that's really context sensitive for you and to help you have a better life.
I think to make Time Bomb work, you'd almost have to have a separate interface or not interface, but maybe you'd have to have a physical bomb with a fuse, because you could be ignoring Time Bomb, but then you see that fuse is getting really short.
Okay, that's nice. Well, so that's one side. So what I wanted to say is, so tasks. This is just brainstorming here. So big ass text file. So then what I was thinking about was this concept of the sort of long-term investing in yourself. So it's like, as we live our lives, we've got there's the 20,000-foot view, and then there's the right in front of you view. So the tasks are the kind of right in front of you view, but I also find myself wanting something that gives me a sense of how, like, what is the Justin Vincent stock doing? Where's it going? Is it going up or down? And sometimes it's difficult to know that, because maybe you're happy with where you're living, but maybe you think you're happy with your career or certain aspects of your career, but actually you're not. You know what I mean? You become more, you're not really aware. It's kind of subconscious. So what I don't exactly know what the interface for this is. I'm just making the point.
Yeah.
It'd be great to track. It'd be great to track your overall happiness index somehow.
Yeah, or your perception of it.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing, because I think there's so many times when it's really hard to know how much to trust your own assessment of yourself.
Right. Right. Exactly. So I mean, I find I have friends who, it's so clear that they've been doing something that's really bad for them for 6 months, and that they hate it, but they still double down on it and do it, and they haven't actually acknowledged the fact that they hate it, and that they're just not enjoying it, and that there would be other things that they could be doing that would be making them much happier and bringing them much more rewards. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. So I want to track that index, and so you've just got a clearer picture. And I'm sorry for sounding so vague about it, but it's because it's just the problem is in my mind rather than the solution.
Yeah, and this is such a wide open kind of app. Like, there's so many ways this kind of app can be done. And there's also never like one app that completely owns the market either.
Exactly.
Like, there's always a getting things done one. There's always like a really minimal one, or lots of minimal ones.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I guess it's hard to brainstorm beyond that, because all I've got it for you is like a very big problem that I don't know how to solve.
I think you'd almost have to make a prototype and use it yourself, and
get,
like,
for
real,
sure. I think so. Yeah.
Real information from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's all I got.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here each week with with feedback.
Nice.
As long as there's more input coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. Well, that's the end of that brainstorm then.
So next is, let's take a look at that. So next is a deep dive that we've already done. So I guess goal setting, unless you have something else.
Okay. I guess goal setting for me is going to be just trying to come up with some. Maybe this was the goal I set last time, was to do at least some mockups. I wonder if mockups is the right thing to do, or if I sort of think maybe what I might even consider doing is like trying to build the landing page, and then
the landing page.
Yeah, the landing page to try and sell it, and then based off that, maybe help me understand what the mockups might look like. Because I don't know. It's
interesting.
It's really difficult at this stage. It's really difficult. It's very uncrystallized.
I mean, maybe. I mean, that way everyone else would be driving what you make, so that might work.
Right.
The other idea, of course, is you trying to use it.
Yeah.
That's going to be slower, but maybe you'll have something. You'll have something more substantial.
Well, if I do me trying to use it, then I'm going to have to build it even before I put it out on beta list, and I definitely don't want to do that. Okay. So
do you usually not?
Oh no, I really recommend you shouldn't build anything before you build your audience. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like, so we're talking, if we go back to the original mental models that we spoke about, hyper iteration, keeping things super fast, learning, the rate of learning. Your rate of learning is really slow if one of the time cycles is build something.
I think I kind of zeroed in on scratch your own itch.
Yeah.
And only halfway processed the other ones there.
Yeah.
Maybe it is slower. It's, at the very least, you'll find out some things other people want. But it's such a nebulous thing, because I feel like there's no really central there's no real central demand from the market in general for this kind of thing. There are just lots of people struggling for a myriad of different reasons. and looking for organization and a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of solutions, but still.
But what I'm thinking is this is what I'm thinking is basically it's called Taskflow, but what I'm thinking is invest in yourself, make your life better. Like that's essentially the underlying why of this. So it's not the same as thinking from the perspective of building a tool. I'm sort of thinking, okay, how can I solve these problems? Always do the right thing. Don't waste your time. Make the right choices. Invest in yourself. Make your life better. Like bring in step function growth into your life. And that all comes down through. It works on both a tiny level about picking each little thing that you do, and it works on a large level about what's your general overall perspective. And there's lots of different strategies and lots of different theories, and sometimes some strategies really work at one time, and other strategies are better at another time. And I haven't seen any tool that's sort of looking at it that way.
So it's like a motivation helper. It's not organization and motivation helper.
Motivation and making right choices. I mean, making good choices. Like, how do you know what the right choice is? So I think training, like articles, so for example, a strategy about structured procrastination. I would imagine the Taskflow site having a blog post about structured procrastination, or like an article just explaining it and then linking out, who thinks this is a good strategy and at what times this is useful, So it's a new way. It's a way to discover new strategies about what you do, like the just one big thing strategy. You've heard of that one, right?
Yeah.
So that some people swear by that strategy alone. Just one big thing. Just only forget about everything and only work on one thing that helps all the other things. And makes your life as good as possible.
Maybe an analogy could be one of those. Not an analogy, but maybe a model you could borrow something from would be one of those guided meditation apps where they include content that's like teaching you about something, and then practices, and then more content, and then more drills to practice that. So this would be partially a tool, but it would be interleaving the components of the tool with content. So you teach about something and then unlock that part of the tool, and then teach about something else, then unlock that part.
Yeah.
CrossFit here's your daily workout of the day.
CrossFit, it's like that's the other thing. It's sort of like CrossFit for your tasks, for what you do.
Yeah. This is interesting because I always used to try to avoid anything that was content based, because in some sense it feels like a treadmill, but in another way, I think it adds a lot of value really quickly.
Right.
And by combining the multiple inputs of the content and the automation, or whatever technical tool,
so it knows it can understand where each task kind of fits, because you've kind of ranked it, you've assigned it different tags that you think's good, and then it can guide you through the different strategies that you learn about when to pick the right tasks based on your mood or how much time you've got or all that different stuff, and then it can track your growth. So for example, one thing I was thinking was like, revenue, like it's your own dashboard it's your own Stripe dashboard to kind of see, this is my growth, this is how much money I'm earning a month, 2 years later, this is how much, and you've got this chart, to see, okay, how much have I grown as an earner, like, or for example, another one would be weight, you could plug that in there and track that over time. And then somehow it could combine all of those and have the index, the Mark Wilbur index, this is your index dashboard, going up over time, or
down. But yeah, that sounds like an interesting thing. For a V1, would say like the first level of depth on each of those big strategies, like just say like have one article introducing one and one one way to use the tool with those tasks? Like, do you think that would be enough?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it would even have any content. I think V1 might just be the tool.
Okay.
But, and it might get better over time by adding... V1 might just be the tool with links. Mm-hmm. Linking to the best couple of articles about that strategy. So you click into a strategy and then it says, to learn about this strategy, read these 3 docs. It just links out. Yeah.
That's what I meant, actually.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then, bringing it kind of, over time, like the meditation apps you talk about, like I've seen a few of them and they've done a great job of bringing the content in-house and like having their own articles and like, it's all a fully integrated experience.
But those are like top iPhone store apps.
Yeah.
So like that's definitely not where they started.
Yeah, I mean, from it might be just worth going back to, if you don't mind, just going back to the original thing, the original mind map about this.
Okay.
Now, question is, can I find it? Oh, of course, I can just go here and go open recent. Yeah. So that one's always ridiculous. Yeah. So this is just really talking about the mental models, and mainly this is the founder fit formula. So basically, the reason why I want to work on this is because it can create. I think it can create flywheel revenue. Like the price point's so low, like $5 to $7. That's as you've experienced. That's an amazing price point. You've got people subscribing to your content and they're sticking with it. And that's because of the price points are low. When price points go higher, it gets harder and churn gets bigger.
Yeah, I never went quite that low, but yeah.
Okay. So I just think that the other thing is I've had success with Plugio building a tool for consumers. So this is a tool for consumers, and I think that this really works with the goals that I want to do. Like I really want to. The same reason I want to build Nugget is I want to make people's lives better if possible. Mm-hmm. So that is why.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how it evolves.
Okay.
And I'm totally happy to guinea pig it.
Now, oh really?
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Well, my current strategy is like I have a zillion notebooks like this, and I have big ass text files on the computer, mm-hmm. and I've also got like Workflowy that I check like once a month. So,
yeah. Okay,
and I think I've got a dead Trello board out there too. So, mm-hmm. yeah,
Trello I find so difficult because I really like the idea of Kanbans, but the problem with them that I find is I have got a shitload of stuff to do, hundreds of tasks, and it's just you shove them onto a Trello board, 100 tasks in your backlog, and it's like, okay, like now there's 100 tasks, like, and you forget about them. It's so difficult they're not organized. So it's
I used one for Alchemist Camp, or actually 3 boards. I had one for development, one for content, and one for ideas. And it was useful. I used it for a few months and it was great. And then kind of what you're talking about happened. I was adding things faster than I was removing them. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I just kind of declared bankruptcy and quit using it.
And that's a big, I mean, I've experienced that like so many times. Like you use a management system and then stuff just ends up, and then you've got thousands of tickets in there, So how do you bring some of those tickets back up in a timely fashion? And that's kind of what the strategy idea is all about, so that you can sort of, you can feel safe and invested. Okay, this is my what I've got to do bank. There's like 1,000 things in there, but it's okay because I'll chip away at them, by using different strategies over time.
Well, I think you also need to just throw some away because like I read a lot. I love reading. I have a long list of stuff that I want to buy on like my wish list on Amazon. I have another list where I'm just watching them, see if the price goes down, and maybe I'll buy them. But the thing is, I keep on adding more and more and more to it. And even if I'm reading like 2 books a week or whatever, there's still like more interesting things coming out faster than I can read them. And eventually it's like, like I'm not going to live long enough to read even all the really interesting stuff that came out, say, before 2010 that I wanted to read. So at some point I have to just say, like, what's the best book in the world for me to be reading today? And, maybe keep a backlog of some others, but I have to like throw away the bottom of the list.
That's great. It should have somehow, I've no idea how it can do this, but it should have like an exit strategy. Like, delete this. So you click it, like these are the things that you should forget.
and if it's like really good, say like in the case of the book analogy, like if it's really good, someone else will recommend it, or I'll read a different thing from the author that makes me go, oh yeah, what was that other one I didn't get to? So, yeah, I think with your tasks, your personal tasks, like if you're not getting something done that's important to you, it will come back.
Yeah, I wonder. I've been wondering in the back of my mind, like, should it be somehow social and you be able to kind of cross-reference other people's stuff? And so, for example, what you just said there, let's say you've had a book list on it, and somehow it either referenced with other users on the system or pulled in from reviews on the internet or something like that. Like it could help like say, oh no, this is a waste of your time. Oh yes, this is really worth your while.
Yeah. Well, I think the bottom half of most, I mean, it depends on how much you're putting on the list, but
yeah,
the bottom portion of the list is mostly probably never going to get done. Okay. So it's like, do you want to have that extra weight on you? Mm-hmm. Of like thinking about these things that you're not going to do, or do you want to, be able to go full steam on the ones that you do care the most about?
Mm. Yeah, the kind of deleting things reminded me of the book called The Dip by Seth Godin.
I haven't read that. I want to though.
But it's a great book, and essentially the main thesis is that people who are super successful. Actually, one of their biggest skills is axing things, deleting things, and then just focusing on the one thing that's really difficult and making it through the dip, like the crossing the chasm of just like pain, and then just sticking with it. And he's talking about things like lawyers who pass the bar and doctors.
I think I did listen to a podcast where he was talking about the dip a long time ago.
So yeah, the power of saying no.
Yeah. So since you read the book, like for say Alchemist Camp, I have put in a whole bunch of time where I've earned considerably less than what I would make contracting, but the amount is going up. And I just got invited to collaborate somehow. I'm not sure yet. Like, going to work out the details for ElixirConf EU, and like there are more opportunities and things coming from it. So once it gets to the point where the return on my effort in any given week for Alchemist Camp is more than the return on spending that hour contracting or that time contracting, would that be getting through? Would that be through the dip?
I don't know if that's like a good correlation. I mean, one thing that I think about it is like you're not in a sunk cost fallacy situation because you've been working on it a long time and because it hasn't been bringing you the rewards. Like I think you're in a potentially flywheel situation where it's just super slow and going up. I don't know if that's what he means about the dip. He's kind of what he's talking about how things that are successful are like 10x more successful than their closest second. Their closest second.
Okay.
And the way that you get there is by just grit and determination and going through the dip and keeping on, and even though it's painful, and just work and get through that dip to be the best in your field or one of the best in your field. That's kind of what
Okay.
he's talking about, and he's just giving a lot of examples about people who do that, and how the best way to get through the dip is by cutting.
And
So
what
just
is the dip? Is just the struggle to become number one.
it's the struggle. It's the struggle, and it's like it might just be that the most the biggest strategy for success is just stick with it. Just stick with it, and give up other stuff and focus on it and get better at it and understand it more. And
Yeah, because my impression, just from the name of the book, like along with other stuff I heard, was that there was some component about it where it's like at the beginning, you're always investing at a loss, and you have to like get past a certain point before it pays off. It's like if you just run like a McDonald's franchise for 6 months, like it will not be a financial success.
That could be true. I mean, that could be true because different people take away different things, and maybe I am like
I haven't even read it,
misunderstanding it. But
maybe I will now, though.
But I do think that what you're doing with Alchemist Camp is great. I mean, it's just on that cusp, and you should totally stick with it. Like the mistake that I made with Plugio was because I kind of lost enthusiasm and passion over the 5 years that I was working on it. I should have just kept at it, worked on it more. It was doing well. It was a flywheel. It could have been much bigger if I'd just stuck with it. It's difficult to do something you don't want to do, though.
I would say a corollary of that is don't stop on Nugget.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm not going to. Well, because Taskflow is a Nugget case study.
Yeah. Well, you explained how like it's
exactly.
synergistic.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let me share my goals for next time.
Yeah.
So, what I am planning on is I can take the screen. I guess I don't have a whole lot to take, but what I'm planning on is I'm going to finish screencasting the stuff that I did for Reactor. So I've got the whole site live viewified, and that's going to be at least 2 screencasts, maybe 3. So that's the number one goal. It's just more content production that way. I'm going to get this, or not this, but the first episode from Reactor published and actually even put on the domain itself, even if it's not styled that much, even if we're going to get a different logo, like just get it out there.
Nice.
And then number 3 is actually put the emails that I've already written into ConvertKit and make that intro course fully automated. So I'll get people's replies when they say, "Oh, okay, here's my code for challenge 1." But other than that, like I won't have to send anything out. It'll just be everyone who asks for the course gets it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. All right, I listed all those down. If you refresh that, you'll probably see it.
All right. An exercise. Well, actually, the exercise is going to be tough. I'm going to try to do at least as well as I did this week, but I'm going to Japan in a couple days.
Okay.
That always throws things off.
Those are good goals. So I will try and I'll try and do some mock-ups to describe what I'm talking about, because it's so freaking nebulous right now. Okay, do mock-ups. So do mock-ups for. Okay, so I'm going to do task input. I'm going to do happiness index. And some kind of idea about chart, and some kind of idea about how to track that.
And 24-hour.
Oh, 24-hour fast.
Yeah. I found like evening to evening is the easiest. Like,
okay,
say like eat dinner and then just don't eat until dinner the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I might do. I'm like, I'm like halfway through it right now, so I might just stick with it. like I haven't had
It's
anything.
like the easiest goal to achieve ever.
Yeah. Just basically don't eat anything till what? Like, when did I eat last night? Eight or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So just do another 12 hours, 11 hours.
Wow. All right. Good plan.
All right.
All right. So that's that is it for the week.
Yep.
Okay. Until next time.
All right. Bye.
See you then.
See you.